Have you ever met someone who just seems impossible to talk to? You say one thing and they look confused, you tell a joke and it falls flat. You explain your idea, but somehow they completely misunderstand what you meant. Then 5 minutes later, someone else walks into the room, says almost the exact same thing, and suddenly everyone listens. What changed? Was it confidence? Was it charisma? Or was it something much simpler? Here's the idea that completely changed the way I see communication. Every person is listening through a different filter. It's almost like they're wearing invisible colored glasses. If you don't know their color, you'll keep speaking your language instead of theirs. And here's the crazy part. Most communication problems aren't caused by saying the wrong thing. They're caused by saying the right thing in the wrong color. Once you understand this, conversations become easier. Awkward silence disappears. People trust you faster. You stop feeling like you're forcing every interaction. Let me show you exactly what I mean. A few years ago, I was giving a presentation to a group of professionals. I had prepared everything. The slides looked amazing. The stories were polished. I was confident. 5 minutes and I could feel the room slipping away. Some people looked bored. Some looked impatient. Others seemed interested but not engaged. I remember thinking, what am I doing wrong? Afterward, one attendee came up to me and said something that completely shifted my perspective. He said, "Your ideas were great, but you kept explaining why they mattered emotionally. I just wanted to know the numbers." That sentence hit me like a truck. The message wasn't the problem. The delivery was. I was speaking emotional language to someone who wanted logical language, wrong color. Since then, I've started paying attention to patterns, and over time, I noticed that most people naturally lean toward one of 4 communication styles. Think of them as 4 colors, not because people fit neatly into boxes. Humans are far more complex than that, but because these colors give you a simple mental shortcut for understanding what matters most to someone. Let's start with the first one, red. Red people move fast. They make decisions quickly. They hate wasting time. If you've ever explained something for 5 minutes only for someone to interrupt and ask, "What's the point?" Congratulations, you were talking to a red. They love action, results, efficiency. If you're asking them where to eat, don't say, "Well, there are a few nice places and one has really cozy lighting." They've already stopped listening. Instead say, "This place is fast, affordable, and everyone loves it." Don't. Decision made. Red people don't want the whole movie. They want the trailer. Now, there's the mistake most people make. They think red personalities are rude. They're not. They're simply focused. Once you understand that, you stop taking their directness personally. Instead of feeling offended, you appreciate their clarity. Imagine how many arguments disappear when you stop assuming someone is disrespecting you and realize they're simply communicating differently. Now let's switch colors. Blue. Blue personalities care deeply about details. Facts, accuracy, logic. These are the people who actually read instruction manuals. They're the ones checking reviews before buying toothpaste. If you tell a blue, trust me, it'll work. They'll smile politely while secretly thinking, based on what evidence? Have you ever met someone who asks 10 questions before making the smallest decision? That's probably a blue. Here's where people lose them. They become too vague. Imagine pitching an idea. To a red, you say, "This saves us 3 hours every week." Perfect. To a blue, you might say, "We tested this over 3 months. Productivity increased by 22%. Same idea, different color." One earns excitement, the other earns trust. Communication isn't about changing who you are. It's about translating your message into a language the other person naturally understands. Now here's my favorite part, because this one changed my personal relationships. Yellow. Yellow personalities thrive on energy, stories, possibilities, fun. If you've ever met someone who walks into a room and somehow makes everyone smile within 30 seconds, there's a good chance they're yellow. These people don't remember spreadsheets. They remember moments. They don't ask, "How does it work?" They ask, "Is it exciting?" When you're talking to a yellow, don't overload them with tiny details. Paint a picture. Tell a story. Use emotion. Imagine you're inviting them on a trip. Don't start listing hotel ratings. Say, "Picture this. You're watching the sunrise with a coffee in your hand while the ocean is completely silent." Now they're listening. Have you noticed something interesting? The information didn't change. Only the presentation changed. That's what master communicators understand. Finally, we have green. Green personalities value harmony, relationships, stability, kindness. They're often the people everyone feels comfortable talking to. If you're having the worst day of your life, chances are you'll call a green because they listen, really listen. The biggest mistake people make with greens is rushing them. Imagine saying, "Come on, decide already." That creates pressure. Pressure creates resistance. Instead, give them space. Say, "Take your time. I just want you to feel comfortable." Or watch how quickly they open up. Here's something fascinating. Have you ever noticed how 2 people can hear the exact same sentence and react completely differently? One feels motivated. Another feels criticized. One gets excited. Another becomes anxious. The words were identical. The colors were different. Now here's where this gets really powerful. What if you could identify someone's color within the first 2 minutes of meeting them? You can. Listen more than you speak. What kinds of questions do they ask? Do they ask about speed? That's often red. Do they ask for proof? Likely blue. Do they tell stories and laugh easily? Probably yellow. Do they ask about people and relationships? Often green. People reveal themselves much faster than you think. You just have to stop preparing your next sentence long enough to notice. And here's the beautiful irony. The less obsessed you become with sounding impressive, or the more impressive you become. Why? Because people don't remember how smart you sounded. They remember how understood they felt. Think about your favorite teacher, your favorite friend, your favorite boss. Were they the most intelligent person you'd ever met? Maybe. But that's usually not why you loved talking to them. You loved talking to them because they understood you. That's the highest level of communication. Not speaking beautifully, listening beautifully. Years ago, I thought becoming a better communicator meant having a larger vocabulary, learning clever phrases, perfecting body language. Those things help, but they're not the foundation. The foundation is curiosity. Walking into every conversation asking yourself one simple question. What color is this person? Not so you can manipulate them, not so you can win the conversation, but so you can serve the conversation. There's a huge difference. Manipulation asks, how do I get what I want? Communication asks, how do I make this easier for both of us? And people can feel that difference instantly. Now let me tell you something that surprised me the most. You're not just one color. Neither am I. We all have pieces of every color. At work, you might become more red. With family, more green. When you're solving a problem, maybe blue. When you're with your closest friends, completely yellow. The goal isn't to label people forever. The goal is to recognize what they need in this moment. That's emotional intelligence. Imagine arguing with your partner. Instead of thinking, why don't they understand me? You pause. You ask yourself, am I speaking their color? Everything changes. Imagine leading a team. Instead of giving everyone the same motivation speech, you tailor your message. The red here's the goal. The blue here's the strategy. The yellow here's the vision. The green here's how the team will grow together. Same message. 4 different translations. That's influence. Not louder. Not more persuasive. More personal. Here's a challenge for you. Today, choose one conversation. Just one. Walk into it like a detective instead of a performer. Forget trying to be interesting. Become interested. Notice what lights the other person up. Notice what makes their eyes brighten. Notice what questions they naturally ask. Then gently shift your communication toward their color. I promise you'll feel something remarkable. The conversation becomes lighter, easier, almost effortless, because people rarely resist people who make them feel understood. And maybe that's what we've been searching for all along. Not the perfect words, not the perfect personality, just the ability to meet people where they are. Because confidence isn't walking into every room believing everyone will like you. Confidence is walking into every room knowing you can connect with almost anyone. Not because you're pretending to be someone else, but because you've learned one timeless truth. Every heart speaks a different language. Every mind sees a different color. And the moment you stop expecting everyone to understand your language and start learning theirs, you'll discover something extraordinary. The world was never full of difficult people. It was simply full of different colors waiting to be seen.